Welcome everyone to the next Alumni Career Webinar on how to rock your LinkedIn profile with Daryl Brown from the class of 2009. I'm Maura Sweeney, Director of Alumni Career Development at Holy Cross, and I'm happy to welcome you to today's webinar. This webinar was put together specifically with the class of 2020 in mind, and in the spirit of LinkedIn, networking, and tapping into the Holy Cross network, we've decided to invite other alumni, students, parents, and friends to join us today. But I'm thrilled that half of today's participants are from the class of 2020, our newest alumni class. Welcome. We'll be together for an hour today. After the formal presentation, Daryl will take questions from you for as long as time allows, and we'll create space within the presentation to address those questions in real time. So please share your questions using the Q&A or the chat throughout the presentation as they come to mind, and we'll have time to address those. The presentation is recorded and will be made available to all of you in a few days. The archive will live on the Alumni Career Development website in our career webinar page. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to today's speaker. Daryl Brown is a native of Stone Mountain, Georgia, and graduated from Holy Cross in 2009 with a BA in political science and Spanish. While at Holy Cross, Daryl also played football and was elected co-captain of the 2008 football team. After Holy Cross, Daryl joined General Electric's financial management program at GE Healthcare, and then was promoted to roles in risk management and sales within GE Capital before pursuing an MBA at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. While in business school, Daryl was elected president of the MBA Council, which is the student body government. He also served as a co-managing director for the Zell-Lurie Commercialization Fund, which is a pre-seed investment fund primarily focused on investing in tech, healthcare, and consumer startups. After business school, Daryl joined Dow Chemical as the North America sales manager for Dow's home and personal care business. At the end of last year, Daryl joined LinkedIn as a regional sales manager for LinkedIn's sales solution platform, and he'll be sharing that particular knowledge with us today. Daryl, his wife Jasmine, their son Grayson, and dog Bella currently live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And Daryl is very graciously joining us from vacation in Northern Michigan. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Daryl, particularly on one of your days off. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Maura. I appreciate it. It's an absolute pleasure to be with all of you this afternoon. Sunny afternoon for me in Traverse City, Michigan. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit of a glare, but have the very large Lake Michigan in the background. And yeah, we're definitely enjoying it, but always lend my time for the Holy Cross family. So yeah, so we'll get started. I'm currently sharing my screen now. So who is this guy? As Maura mentioned, I am a proud member of the class of 09. For the class of 20 and those a little bit older than them that are doing the math, yes, I am that old. As Maura mentioned, I spent a little over 6 years at GE before segueing into business school. And so for me, I chose to pursue an MBA after what I felt was a good amount of relevant business experience. But for me, I didn't have a business background, with that being my political science and Spanish undergrad major. So I thought I'd round out my skill set in business school, and it was a tremendous experience. So after graduating in 2018, spent a little over a year at Dow Chemical, and as Maura mentioned, I'm currently a regional sales manager for the sales solutions platform within LinkedIn. Over here to my right, I have a very old picture of me playing at Holy Cross, but more importantly, my beautiful wife Jasmine, our amazing son Grayson, as well as our 7-pound guard dog Bella. So they are my why, so I can't have any presentation without having the most important aspect of my life on. So moving forward, what we'll cover in this workshop. So during this hour, we'll start off with an introduction into LinkedIn, and then segue into 5 key steps to really, even bigger than just maximizing your LinkedIn profile. It's about establishing your professional brand and maximizing that brand. So we'll start with step 1 in defining your professional brand. Then segue into step 2, which is creating a LinkedIn account, followed by how to really build your profile to attract employers. Then we'll segue into what it takes to build out and really leverage a strong professional network to connect to opportunities. And we'll finish with step 5, which is searching for jobs, internships, and schools on LinkedIn. So how to, take even further steps regarding LinkedIn. And so we'll start here with a video.
I started off as an outsider and
pause it for a second just to kind of briefly intro, starting with a video, just really explaining what LinkedIn as a company stands for, and more importantly, and you'll get the gist of this after watching this brief video, what we're in it for at LinkedIn, as well as, as you start to really define what you're in it for the career opportunities and the overall aspirations that you pursue.
I started off as an outsider, and in this industry, it really is about who you know.
The restaurant business is a tough business. I've been up here and I've been down here too.
It is hard to find your footing, so you need people that you're close to help guide you.
I think about how important it was for me to have the role models that I've had.
Look at that.
There have been a lot of friends and clients that have supported me, especially since I started my own practice.
I wasn't able to get there alone. He essentially plucked me out of obscurity.
He's the one who said, hey man, this is your life. This is what you need to do.
Nobody can do it alone. The more help you can get along the way, the faster you can achieve your goals.
I don't know, I enjoy the work enough that I get lost in it.
If I do anything in this life, I just want young people to feel empowered.
I'll just pursue my aviation goals, whatever it takes to get there. I'm in it to fly.
To help people achieve their dreams.
To tell stories that matter.
To celebrate good food.
I'm in it to speak for those who cannot.
Whatever you're in it for, we're in it together.
I started off as...
So, with that being said, I'd love to share with you the vision of LinkedIn, and this is our North Star, what drives us every day at LinkedIn, and really what we live by as a company, and that is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. And that's followed up by our mission, which is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And this is an overarching goal of ours that really is set to be both inspirational as well as just that driving force for us every day in finding new and more efficient ways in order to, again, help others be more productive and successful. And so why LinkedIn? That's best summed up by our value proposition, which is to connect to opportunity. And I know that can seem somewhat vast, but it's purposely vast in the sense that that opportunity and what connect to opportunity, it's what it means to you. So connecting opportunity for me could be completely different than what connecting opportunity to Maura, as well as every other person on this call, as well as that will be listening later, what that means. And so it's LinkedIn as a mission, or I'm sorry, as a value prop, we seek to connect that opportunity, that whatever that is for you. And so it then to segue into the power of LinkedIn, right? And so what it ultimately comes down to is we are the largest professional network in the world with over 700 million members, with 30 million companies, over 20 million jobs listed, 50,000 skills, and over 90K plus schools, all in some way, shape, form, or fashion leverage this platform. And so, again, the gist and what we want to spend time in is, why this platform is important. And so I'd like to segue into how what you do on social media, and to use the donut as an analogy, how on various social media platforms, how you might reference a donut. Right? As you can see here, the vast examples of other social media platforms and what referencing a donut may mean. Well, what's different with LinkedIn is that we are a professional network. And so using that same donut analogy, you see here how you take a much more professional presence or much more professional context when even referencing donuts, where it's, I hope to operate a donut franchise one day. I'm looking for a job at a donut company, and in other examples here. So it's just a way of, again, pivoting what LinkedIn is and differentiating what LinkedIn can provide versus other social media platforms. And this platform allows you to connect to jobs and internships. With 2.5 million people on LinkedIn are hired through their connections every year. Over 10 million employers are posting 7.5 million jobs per month. And the key fact on this slide here is that over 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn daily. And what this figure means is that at any point in the hiring process, you can bet money that either the recruiter or the hiring manager will view your LinkedIn profile as a part of determining whether or not to bring you in or an opportunity, or as part of the deciding factor on whether or not to hire you. So your professional presence is extremely important for those early in their careers, as recent grads, as you're building your careers, as well as for those that may be a little more established in their career as they continue to build their career. Your presence on LinkedIn definitely matters. And so I have two success stories that I'd like to share. And again, I don't want to just read this verbatim, but just give you the overall gist. With this first graduate here, mentions that initially this person was struggling to get any leads looking for their first job, but then amped up the job searching, utilizing LinkedIn to find opportunities and connect with hiring managers, and just began to reaching out to actual people. And within a short amount of time, this person was able to land a salary position with full benefits. So the steps that you take to not only start your LinkedIn presence and your professional presence, but as well as continue to grow that presence is very, very much impactful as you are either finding your first opportunity or looking for opportunities post. The second example takes a different pivot and just showing again the robustness of LinkedIn, where this person actually used LinkedIn suggestions for how to maximize their profile to a 100% profile. And in doing so, this person was approached for a job opportunity they would have otherwise never found. So just listing here how LinkedIn was instrumental in starting their new career. So we finished this first step, or I'm sorry, we finished the intro on the LinkedIn, and I guess I want to take just a brief moment to open it up tomorrow to see if there are any questions before we get started with step one of your overall professional brand and your professional presence. Are there any questions? If so, please feel free to list those in the chat. We'll just give a minute or two to see if there are any questions.
Well, and I know there are a few questions that came in from registration on really how to maximize your profile, make sure that you can stand out. So I think those will be answered very well.
Absolutely.
By this next step.
All right. So we'll get going. So in this first step, we'll start with defining your professional brand, and in this step we'll cover what makes a good brand, followed by identifying your brand, and rounding this section out with just showing how you're the right choice. So what makes a good brand? When at the company level, as all of you know, a brand is that company's promise to its customers. It tells those customers what they can expect from the company's products and services. And with any company, they spend vast amount of money differentiating themselves through their brand and through brand marketing to show how their products and services are unique from their competitors. So a good brand is very important, as we all know. And to dive a little deeper, let's touch on two massive brands that we all know, Nike and Adidas. So when it comes to these two brands, how do you decide which shoe you like more? What does each brand promise its customers? And when it comes to expectations, what do you expect from a Nike versus an Adidas? And all of those things help you differentiate, when you're making that purchase or, looking for your next shoe, why you choose a Nike over an Adidas. And so now let's zero in on you. Yes, you have your own brand, and that brand that's solely yours is your promise to those around you. It tells people what they can expect from working with and around you, and it shows why you're unique. And I can't harp on this very last point. You shape your brand by the way you present yourselves to others with the notion of perception is reality, right? So how you're perceived and how you shape your brand and how you present yourself matters as you're either starting your career or continuing to grow your career. And so why choose you? Why would an employer, or for those of you that are recent grads that are pursuing grad school, why would either an employer or a grad school decide to choose you? What promise do you make to your employer or school, and what can they expect from you? And rounding out, why are you unique? And so the value of your brand answers all these questions and truly knocks the ball out of the park when it comes to this last question, and why you are unique. And so with your brand, you're showing why you're the right choice. And your brand includes who you are now, listing your skills, your network, as well as pertinent information such as expertise in areas of knowledge. But it also shows what you want in the future, your values, as well as your goals, both short-term and longer term, using respect, responsibility, honesty, and caring as some of those core foundations. And so I'd like to take a brief moment to have an activity with everyone just regarding your professional brand. And so in the chat, for those of you who'd like to, please write 3 words that your friends would use to describe you. And what's very important with this ask here is that for me as a hiring manager leading the sales team, this is actually one of the many questions I ask in the interview process. I ask those I'm interviewing, if I had all of the people that know you best in the world in one room, what are the 3 words they would use to describe you? So I'm really curious and excited to see what anyone might share. So we'll give a few moments to see if anyone who all wants to participate. All right, Mariah, we have honest, genuine, selfless. Love it. Justin Lombardi, attentive, caring, motivated. Kia Robinson, reliable, dedicated, caring. Starting to see some great themes. Caring. Anyone else? We got quite a few rolling in, so I'll give it a few moments again, and we won't stay here long. But again, just I can't stress how important it is that for those of you again that are starting your career or landing your next opportunity, to have these sorts of introspective introspective conversations with yourself, just in the sense of like who you are, right? To be able to really firmly articulate who you are, and using these 3 themes as an anchor to really express who you are, right? So it should be something that during the interview process you should be able to articulate. If someone directly asks you, as in if you're sitting in front of me interviewing for a role on my team, I'm going to directly ask you these questions. But if not, make sure that the hiring manager gets these 3 points overarching when they're reflecting on their interview with you. So can't stress that enough. Great. Well, I appreciate the activity. In the interest of time, we'll keep it going. And so when it comes to showing why you're the right choice, you decide what you want people's first impression of you to be. And making a strong LinkedIn profile is very important, as setting your professional profile and what shows up when someone Googles your name. So make sure you stay active on social media and build your online presence. And this presentation is how you can do that specifically for LinkedIn. But just know that your brand is built on not only what you say and post on social media platforms like LinkedIn and others, but it's also built on what you don't post. So please be very cognizant of your presence on all social media platforms, and in particular with LinkedIn, because again, your profile and your presence on this platform can be very integral in you landing that next opportunity, or could be a determining factor in, a company going in a different direction based on that. So just something to keep in mind. So we'll go to this this next step, which is creating a LinkedIn account. And I am going to assume that most, if not all of you currently on this call already have a LinkedIn account. And so in the interest of time, I will breeze through parts of this step. Just knowing again that I'll send this deck to tomorrow after the presentation, that you'll be able to leverage, further this content regarding setting up your account or creating an account if you haven't done so already. But I did want to point out to a very important fact where, as I mentioned before, 9 out of 10 employers use LinkedIn during the hiring process. So for those of you that don't have a LinkedIn account, I cannot stress to you how important it is that you create one. All right. So when it comes to setting up an account, it's available at linkedin.com, and it's free. So there is a cost if you want to enhance your LinkedIn experience, that being a premium subscription that has specialized features that are very relevant if it works for you. But at the very base level, the presence and being on LinkedIn is 100% free. So you can choose to beef up that presence if you'd like to, or your experience on LinkedIn. But at the very minimum, we do all we can to make sure our free users have an amazing, seamless experience in being able to, again, connect to opportunity. So one aspect of starting your account is you're able to import your contacts from your email account. And I actually have a video here that shows you how to do so. And again, for those of you that haven't set up an account, you can leverage that after this presentation. It is also incredibly important that you add a photo because members with profile photos receive 21 times more profile views and 9 times more connection requests. So your photo is incredibly important, again, to your presence on this platform. And so we'll now segue into, more importantly, how do you build your LinkedIn profile that attracts employers? And the end fact I have here at the bottom is that over 50% of hiring managers use LinkedIn profiles to qualify job seekers. So again, I can't harbor on this enough, the importance of your presence on this platform, and again, how you articulate uniquely your brand and who you are on this platform. And so in this step, we'll cover and really differentiating your LinkedIn profile versus a traditional resume. We'll also talk about what makes a great photo, how to edit your profile, and lastly, privacy settings. And this last part is very important because as a company, LinkedIn is a members first community, in the sense that your privacy settings, what you set, are incredibly important to us as a company, and we do not sacrifice the privacy that you have set for your account for any sort of revenue generating platforms or revenue generating endeavors that we have as a company. So your privacy settings are very important because LinkedIn protects and puts its members first. So how is your LinkedIn profile different from your resume? Well, there are big differences, and I have a few examples here. Your LinkedIn profile speaks to all potential employers versus a single employer that you would submit an individual resume to. And it goes into much more detail than a traditional resume, where you're able to list skills, projects, your interests, certifications, and volunteer experience, and so much more. And it contains recommendations and endorsements from others, right, to just really validate and further show your credibility in the space that you're in, as well as for opportunities that you're pursuing. And it allows other professionals and employers to interact, learn, and contact you. So it is a much more beefed up, much more dynamic digital experience, and it's again just vastly different than a traditional resume. So just wanted to start by differentiating there. And again, when it comes to your digital presence on LinkedIn, your profile is your story. And what we mean by that is, again, going over a step I initially mentioned regarding adding a photo. And we're just showing some of those same facts that I'd already spoken to, but then also noting that members with a photo get 36 times more messages. So just the overall activity on LinkedIn is incredibly enhanced with just adding a photo, just taking that first step. And no, it doesn't have to be a professional photo, but it should be a photo just of you, versus in other social media platforms you can have photos with you, friends, loved ones, what have you. When it comes to your LinkedIn profile, it is solely your presence, and so it should only be a photo solely with you. The next step, which is very important, adding your industry. So members with industry information receive up to 9 times more profile views, and more than 3,000 people search on industry alone when it comes to LinkedIn. So when you really think about what are recruiters looking for when they're doing their search to try and refine who they want to target for certain opportunities, adding your industry is incredibly important, because again, that is a very important factor in those recruiters in their search. This next step is drafting a compelling summary. And so your summary is incredibly important because it's your elevator pitch, and it should focus on your career accomplishments and aspirations. But it also should be, fairly robust in the sense of, we at LinkedIn recommend that it should be at least, if not more than 40 words, not too much more, but definitely 40 plus words. And it should read like a story versus be bullets. There could be a bullet or two, but overarching, it should read like a story, because it is a story. It's your professional story. This fourth step just talks about detailing your work experience. So I know that we have recent grads, predominantly recent grads on the call, but there are some that do have a little bit more work experience. So, but this is for everyone, whether again you're either starting your career or continuing to grow your career. Members with up-to-date positions receive 5x more connection requests, 8 times more profile views, and 10 times more messages. So for those of you that are just starting your career, again, class of 2020, I cannot stress how important it is that as you continue to progress your career, you get those promotions. Keep your LinkedIn profile up to date, because your profile is self-authored and self-provisioned. So it only updates as you update it. And so the more you put into your profile, the more you'll get out of it, be it, enhancing your network or other potential career opportunities down the road. This next step, adding examples of your work. So, and we call this rich media, where you can upload photos, presentations, and videos. And this just gives a dynamic, visually representation of your professional story. And so it doesn't have to be content that you've solely authored. So as an example, if your company has a brand message that they can circulate, or that they've circulated, please feel free to add that in your media section. Just again, for those that may not know everything about your business, it just gives another layer of professional presence, as well as just makes your LinkedIn profile dynamic. Very important step, because we at Holy Cross, we are men and women for others. And so volunteering both while at Holy Cross and after Holy Cross as alum is very important. So please, please, please add your volunteer experience. Members that do so, that add their experience and causes that are important to them, get 6 times more profile views than those without them. And we even have data showing that over 50% of hiring managers actually use volunteer experience as work experience, especially if you can articulate what at that particular nonprofit organization or with a particular cause, the impact that you've had, and the roles that you've had. that in many ways, especially for those of you that are just starting your career, can also help show employers the value that you'll bring to their organization, and can subset some of the work experience that you may not have right now. So very, very important. This next step, adding skills and getting endorsed. Members who do so, who can add 5 or more skills, they receive 17 times more profile views. And so when it comes to skills, this is a section that's really important, because you completely control the skills that you have listed, as well as the endorsements that you have listed, or those that have endorsed the skills that you have listed on your profile. So please do not hesitate to reach out to those you've worked with, those that are very familiar with your work that you may not have worked directly with, but have worked indirectly with. And for those, again, for early grads, again, class of 2020, if you have professors that you feel very confident can speak to any of these skills that you've professed on your LinkedIn profile, please don't hesitate to reach out to them and ask for an endorsement. And some of the strategies that we recommend at LinkedIn when it comes to requesting endorsements is to actually even send out those proactively versus waiting for someone to reactively approve an endorsement. It can be very effective. And the last step is requesting a recommendation. So recommendations help build your credibility and validate your skills. And when it comes to recommendations, again, for recent grads, if there are professors that you've worked closely with, or that you feel can really speak to your character and who you are, please reach out to them and ask for a recommendation. Or for those of you that have work experience, and you've worked with either a colleague or someone a level or two higher than you, that again can speak to what you bring to an organization. This speaks volumes to your professional presence. And one of the things, another thing that we also recommend at LinkedIn is when it comes to recommendations, and you proactively reaching out to people in your network for these recommendations, don't hesitate to write a rough draft, or let them know specifically what you would like them to recommend you for, to write a recommendation for, and write a rough draft that gives them a template or a place to start, that then that person writing the recommendation can further tailor to make it their own. But it is a robust, a recommendation that paints the professional picture that you're going for. And lastly, do not forget about updating or adding your location, listing relevant education. So again, for all of us, we have to have Holy Cross listed there. For anyone that's currently in grad school, planning to pursue or writes articles, what have you, making sure those publications are listed. And lastly, any accomplishments. And so I know there's quite a few former athletes in the class of 20, and for me, I have had accomplishments listed, such as, again, being the co-captain of the football team, or if your team won the Patriot League, or things of that nature, just showing not only the accomplishment but what role you played within that accomplishment is very important. So we're about to start this next step, but I want to just give a few moments to see if there are any questions for anyone on the call right now. So give a moment, please. Don't hesitate to put the question in the chat, and Maura will read them out. Or do we have any questions?
We do, and the question comes in from Dane, who was on the same wavelength as me, because I wrote down the exact same question. So he asked, for those of us who are looking for work, and I'm thinking for those people looking for work and who want to change industries, should the industry that you list on your profile, should that be the industry you want to enter, or something else? How firm does that have to be with your past experience?
It should list the industry that you would like to enter, in the sense that,
Right.
again, when you're thinking from the lens of a recruiter, recruiters, they leverage LinkedIn through one of our 4 revenue generating platforms, which is Talent Solutions. So they have an account and they do these massive searches in order to find their talent. And part of their search is industry. And so if they're in a particular industry, and if you are looking to join that company, if you don't have that industry listed, the likelihood of you being in their refined search is vastly lower than if it is listed. Not saying it's impossible, but the likelihood is a lot lower. So I would recommend listing the industry that you like to enter. So as an example, if you're in consumer packaged goods, but you like to go into tech, I would highly recommend you list tech, only because, again, when it comes to those recruiters and their ability to find you, it's much easier if you have that particular industry that they're recruiting for listed in your profile.
And there have been a lot of questions that came in around about building that summary and how to build a summary that is robust and that's effective. And I wonder if part of this, kind of listing a different industry, would you recommend listing that in the summary also, kind of starting to tell that narrative of kind of where you want to go, or should that summary still be fairly open?
Your summary should definitely list where you would like to go regarding industry. And again, because it's your elevator pitch. And so envision you end up in an elevator. Well, and this is pre-COVID times. You end up in an elevator. You end up in an elevator with the C-suite executive at your dream company. What will you say to her or him? Right? Like, what's your elevator pitch? And that elevator pitch had very well better, aligned to that industry, because if it's not, it won't resonate as well, So it's your elevator pitch. And so it should definitely speak to the industry you'd like to, you plan to join if you're currently not in that industry. But again, it should tell a story, and for anyone either that are, as I said, if you're at a smaller company or what you may feel is a less known company, don't hesitate as well to, also, kind of briefly summarize, like, maybe not the exact company, but again, the industry. And if it's a niche industry, definitely, make sure that's mentioned in your summary.
Great. And then one more question for you before we go on.
Yes.
Francis asked, how do you ensure that you're not putting too much, but mostly what is important on your profile? Or is putting too much usually a good thing?
It's more is better. In the sense that, again, if I'm deciding between 2 people to bring in for an interview, and I see one person has a very robust LinkedIn profile, very up to date, that their presence is there, and they have an active network, versus someone who has a LinkedIn account but doesn't have a picture, nothing really listed, and everything seems out of date. I'm just going to assume that the person with the more robust profile is more serious about their career and their professional advancement than the person not. And I would give the nod to the person who had that more robust profile, just because, again, if you put in that much effort into your career and your presence and your professional brand thus far, you'll continue to do so in my company. And that's, kind of the mindset I have as a hire manager.
Great. That's all we have for now, so I'll let you keep going.
All right. So now on the 4th step, and really diving in deeper to how do you build your network to connect to opportunities. And the in fact I have here is that 70% of people were hired at a company where they had a connection. Again, fun fact, I had a few connections at LinkedIn, and that was actually how I was initially approached about this opportunity that I'm currently in now. And it was one that, again, I had a great opportunity with Dow Chemical, but this opportunity at LinkedIn was one I couldn't pass up. And I firmly believe that had I not had those connections at LinkedIn, the likelihood of me being approached for this opportunity would have been drastically lower. So I can definitely speak to that 70% number. In this section, we'll cover discovering existing connections, how to search for new connections, messaging connections, how you can leverage LinkedIn to get career advice, and then lastly, engaging with your community. So discover existing connections. You can click on My Network in the top navigation to find people you already know. So based on a lot of the inputs you put into your LinkedIn profile, it will automatically, there's algorithms that'll automatically list people that you have a very strong likelihood of knowing. Again, for everyone in the class of 2020, when you if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or if you update your profile with graduate class of 2020, everyone else's class of 2020 will more than likely be, a part of your existing connections, because the algorithm assumes that you have a touch point with this person, given this very relevant similar experience. And so that's some of the bit. Again, I'm not a tech guy, I'm in sales. I sell products. I'm not behind the scenes, but I'm told that's how the algorithm works. But you can further personalize that invitation with a note when you send out an invitation. So just because someone is recommended doesn't mean they're automatically in your network. You still have to formally request to connect, as you see in that in the bottom part of the screen. But you can further personalize those connections to what we call a more warmer introduction, right? And this just makes it clear to the other person why you're reaching out. But then when it comes to searching for new connections, you can actually use this search bar and navigate based on different filters, those being name, again, if you know the specific person you're looking for. But let's say you want to connect with people at a certain company, you can search by company, and or if you're looking to search with for people not only at Holy Cross but other schools that you may be interested in pursuing for graduate school and things of that nature, you can search on those different filters as well to find new potential connections. And I'll spend just a brief second here just regarding messaging connections. I have a quick video that shows how to best do that. I won't click on it here, but just know that you can send messages to connections directly from your LinkedIn messaging page, from your connections page, as well as from their profile page. So there are many ways to be in touch with someone. When it comes to free LinkedIn, you're only able to message people that you have a first connection with, so that you're directly connected with. And so I'll briefly touch on the connections. So Maura and I are connected on LinkedIn, so she is considered a first connection for me. So Maura and I we're at Holy Cross at the same time, but graduated at different years. So people in her class would probably be second connections for me if I'm not already initially connected to them. And anyone in their broader networks would be considered a third connection. So there's different spectrums of connections. And with free LinkedIn, you're only able to message those that you have your first connections with, so that you're directly connected with. So I just wanted to make sure I clarify that. And you can also use LinkedIn for career advice. There's a section here on your profile page where you select that career advice hub, and you set your preferences by answering some questions, and LinkedIn will suggest members who have that relevant experience. For those of you that don't have this, or if you're checking your LinkedIn right now and you don't have that career advice option, it may be because you need to add more connections or more content on your profile. Again, LinkedIn is a members first community, and it is a community that wants those that put the most into it to get the most out of it. And so when it comes to that career advice option, if you're building a robust profile, if you're adding content and just being a very active member of this space, again, for those that put the most into it through aspects of career advice and other options, LinkedIn helps to provide as much value as possible. But then when it comes to engaging your community, just have a few points here listed on how best to do so. Some of those being like and share things that people in your network care about and post. I can't stress the importance of investing time in your connection. So just because you connect with someone, figure out a rhythm of how you stay in touch with these connections, be it, at your, be it for all of you as alumni, as colleagues, like how do you stay in touch with people in your class, or as you continue to progress through your career, how do you stay in touch with people that you've worked with so that, you're investing time in these connections. This next point here is very, very big for me when it comes to making introductions for others. Because for me, I feel that the value of my network is my network. And so I spend a lot of my time introducing people within my network to each other to help them in whatever it is that they may be doing. So it's a piece of advice I wanted to give. It's also important that you join groups and exchange insights with school and program alumni, as well as just giving testimonials and recommendations for others. So how I mentioned earlier in the presentation, don't hesitate to reach out to ask for testimonials or recommendations. Also make sure that you're returning the favor and giving those testimonials or recommendations as well, as a way of just, engaging with your professional network, with your community. So we're segueing into step 5. And again, I want to take just a few moments to see if there are any questions from anyone on the call based on everything that's been covered so far.
Let's see, I know that there were a few questions that came up during the Q&A, during registration, about kind of what's the best way to connect with people, and kind of, is there a certain approach to connecting with people you know well, connecting with people that you don't know well but would like to get to know well? Do you have any advice and best practices on making those connections?
For the people that you know well, I don't think you need to send as customized a invitation, a LinkedIn request to join their network. But for those that you don't, I would very much recommend that you personalize it a little bit. Introducing yourself, what you're interested in, and and that you'd love to join their network. Again, for me as a Holy Cross alumni, I hope that each and every one of you reach out to me, that you send a connection to me. You don't need to send a personalized intro, but for other alumni within our extremely strong Holy Cross alumni network, and I highly recommend you personalize it a little bit, because with our network, we are all for other alumni and look to do all that we can to help. So the more you can, again, create a robust profile, that also helps you. Because for me, if I get a LinkedIn request from someone that doesn't even have a picture, the likelihood that I accept that invitation for them to join my network is very small, if impossible, because for me, I am very serious and very protective of my network. And so I would just, again, can't stress enough the importance of building out your profile, so that when you do send those requests to people you may not know very well or even at all, it further helps give you credibility for why you should join their network. So that's just some advice I give. And I think I saw a question pop up.
Yes, 2 other questions. One, just a quick question about the career advice section. If it is available to people, where can you find it?
I will go back here. So on your profile page, there's a career advice hub located in your dashboard.
Okay, great. And then the last question I'll ask before you move on is, so for people who want to change industries, but they're not sure which one they want to go into yet, should they express that they're open to gaining experience in any industry in their summary, or how would you think about that?
I would tailor the industries. So even listed more than one is fine, but just to say vast industries, you don't want what is supposed to be a very tailored elevator pitch to seem vague, or to seem misdirection, or where it's kind of one of those things where, hey, I just throw a dart at a wall and then draw a target around it, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be able to show that you're focusing, and it's very fine to be interested in multiple industries. I don't think that's a knock at all, but to list it more vague, I think could do more harm than good, in my opinion. And by harm, I just mean, it may not show as, as a robust, a refined profile as those that might be more tailored with their industries.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think just pops to mind that it could be, instead of focusing on the industry, if you're open to exploring a lot, you might want to focus on the skill set or the type of work you want to do.
Yes.
And then, I think they could see how you'd fit into their industries that much better.
Exactly. Or,
Right.
even if it's, again, if it's product management, like product management is very much a tech field. So just speaking to that, but there are product management roles outside of tech. So just speaking to that, as you mentioned, more kind of opens up the doors to multiple industries being interested because you're interested in a relevant role in their space, in their industry.
Great. I know that being specific and yet open can feel kind of like a tough push and pull, but I think that's a really great approach, Daryl. Thank you. I'll let you keep going from here.
All right. And so in this last section, we'll just talk about searching for jobs and internships in schools on LinkedIn. And so the in fact here that I have is that, over 10 million employers and 7 million monthly jobs and internships are posted on LinkedIn. And in this section, we'll just briefly cover the LinkedIn job search app, setting career interests, searching for jobs, reviewing the jobs you're interested in, how to, once you've established this network, or as you continue to, build out your network, how do you leverage that network in a good way, right? But just using your network, following companies and exploring schools. So when it comes to setting career interests, include potential job titles and locations in your career interests to receive more relevant job suggestions. So that's one of the things as well, that LinkedIn will send you job suggestions based on, again, what you've input into the platform. And so you can turn on the open candidate setting to let employers know you're actively searching and available for a new job. And so please be sure to again, download the LinkedIn app so that you can receive those job notifications quickly. When it comes to searching for jobs, you can use the LinkedIn search filter to find jobs based on these different criteria, be it keyword, experience level, location, or function. And when it comes to reviewing jobs you may be interested in, make sure your account is filled out and as accurate as possible. How I mentioned before, that it's as up to date as possible, so that you're receiving very relevant jobs for where you are in your career now versus where you were. So the algorithm that sends you the jobs you may be interested in is only as good as the information that you've put into the system, so into the platform, excuse me. So make sure, again, that information stays relevant and up to date. And when it comes to your network, don't be afraid to ask for a job referral by reaching out to your first connections at a company you're interested in. Like, let's say you get a job opportunity that pops up at Hulu, and you see that you have 3 connections at Hulu. Don't hesitate to reach out to those 3 connections to let them know that you're interested in that specific job, and to ask for a job referral. It's very powerful, and again, it's a way that you leverage not only the power of LinkedIn, but the power of your professional network. And for those of you that are interested in grad school in the near or short-term future, you can also use it to explore different schools that you're interested in. For me, I definitely looked up the Ross School of Business on LinkedIn before deciding. And it was a way, again, for me to just find as much up-to-date information on the school, as well as finding alumni that had similar career paths that I sought to pursue, and being able to reach out to them regarding not only my career interests, but their experience while at Ross. So it is a way for those of you that do seek to continue education. You can even use LinkedIn to explore those schools you're interested in as well. So that's it regarding the presentation, but I cannot stress to you how important it is that you join our HC Alumni Network for the class of 2020. Let me be one of many to congratulate you on now joining one of the strongest alumni networks in the world. I absolutely, I can't tell you how much value I get from this alumni network on a very, very recent basis. You see here, I have a screenshot of our Holy Cross alumni page, and Maura actually has a job posted here, right? So at Holy Cross, our network very much is, you get the most out of it the more you put into it. So please, 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 for all of you that, are either at home or in your location where your job may be, please join the local Holy Cross Alumni Network, the local Holy Cross Alumni Club for volunteer opportunities and just to connect and network with this vast network of people that are all looking to help you. I'm one of many. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I have my personal email listed here, as well as a link to my LinkedIn page. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to help in any way I can. If you have any other questions, anything of that nature, please don't hesitate to reach out. And it was a lot of fun walking through this with all of you. So hopefully, you've received some very relevant information. And if there's anything else, again, that you have more questions on or want to follow up on or just want to connect, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This has been really, really phenomenal. And it's been nice to be able to ask some questions along the way to make sure that we're finding out the things that are most relevant to all of you. So thank you for submitting those questions. And Daryl, thank you for joining us on vacation. Again, I need to stress, it's really huge. And what you are willing to give to the Holy Cross Network just says so much about what a great person you are. So thank you very much. And thank you for your wisdom. For everyone here, know that this has been recorded, and so I'll share it with all of you once it's up on the college's YouTube page. It also lives on the Holy Cross Alumni website on the career webinar page, and so I'll share that with all of you so you can access this and go through the information in more depth. I'll share the slide deck that Daryl mentioned so that you can see those videos and jump into that information in more detail. You'll receive a survey at the end of this, and please submit your thoughts, give me some feedback. I always look for new topics and new suggestions for how to make this webinar program relevant and strong for all of you. So please share that feedback there. And again, Daryl, thank you so much. And I hope that everyone connects with us on LinkedIn. Please do, and please join the alumni LinkedIn group. Take care, everyone.